Welcome to the Personal Development Mastery Podcast. I'm 𝗁𝗁𝗄𝗯𝗲 and my mission is to inspire you to rise up, grow, stand out and take action towards the next level of your life. I interview leaders, influencers, entrepreneurs, authors, exceptional people who can and will inspire you to improve your life. Tune in for 2 episodes each week and make sure you subscribe to the podcast to get the episodes as soon as they are released. In today's show, it is a real pleasure to speak with Sensei Victoria Whitfield. Victoria, you are a business Reiki master for entrepreneurs, helping them stay grounded as they navigate the emotional roller coaster of business. You are also a published author, a successful 6-figure energy healer, and the host of the Journeypreneur podcast. You are passionate about teaching driven, highly sensitive entrepreneurs how to create clarity, confidence, and calm through cultivating their natural intuition. Victoria, I'm overjoyed to be speaking with you today.
Likewise, Agi, I'm so excited to get to talk to you and to continue this spiritual journey together. Yeah.
It's amazing. I have so many things that I'm looking forward to discuss with you. Let's start with a little bit of background and put some context into who you are. So I understand you have a very unique and rather unusual story. So can you take us back and paint the picture for us for, how you became who you are?
Absolutely. I was not supposed to be a business Reiki master. I was actually supposed to be a teacher. And what drew me onto this path, well, for one, I've always been sensitive to energies and other people's emotions. I've always picked up on them. And at the same time, that was more of how I mastered my role in customer service and managerial positions, working for others, being sensitive to how is the group doing, how is the boss or how are the employees doing, and being able to manage relationships in that fashion. But what put me on this path was actually an accident. So this is going to be momentarily painful. Back in 2011, I was stuck between 2 windows of glass, 20 to 40 pound panes of glass. My hands were stuck between them and I was at work, right down to the bone. In fact, this is my normal thumb, which bends at a normal 90-degree angle. This is my right thumb. My left thumb, I am pressing as hard as I possibly can, but it only bends to a 45-degree angle. So this is my permanent memory of the day that changed my life. And so how I ended up in that position, though, rewind maybe about a good 10-15 minutes before, I was working at a nonprofit and I loved the work that I did. And I loved the people that I worked for. Originally, I had gotten to the job market back in 2008 when there was a stock market crash here in the States. So it was very difficult to find positions. I had worked for not so good people beforehand. So this was my first safe position. I wanted to do my best. And I grew up with the concepts from Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. My parents would teach me anything the mind can conceive and believe it can achieve. So I have a strong can-do attitude of anything that I need to get done, I can. And that ended up having me going into positions where I was always second to the founder or second to the owner in different corporations. At this, I was working in a nonprofit, second to the founder. And then I was also second to the executive directors after him. And as their center coordinator, I was responsible for the phones, for receiving visitors, for coding the website, for so many different things. I was the reliable octopus in the middle kind of a person. Yeah. And so at the same time, this can-do attitude that I have of anything my mind can conceive and believe it can achieve, began to morph over time with a little bit of, you sprinkle that with perfection, and it turns into a toxic can-do attitude, where I had a window of opportunity to call the maintenance gentleman, 𝗁𝗲𝗄𝗆, who's a wonderful guy, would have come right in and opened the window for me on this hot, humid day. I had a window of opportunity also that I didn't take, to wait about 7 minutes for the founder to come back and help me open this original massive Victorian window. But I didn't take that opportunity. I even had a window of opportunity to turn to my left and just click, turn on the window air con. The air conditioner was right there. But I didn't take it. I wanted to open the window. I conceived of opening the window. I believed I could open the window. But what I didn't know is that this time was when the weight would break in the window. And that is why it crashed down upon my hands. And so how this changed the course of my life and career is twofold. And it's always twofold for me. My body and my business. The two have been deeply intertwined. My physical health and my financial health. So on the physical side, all right, I am officially going to the hospital. Once the executive director finally came and got me out of the window, I fainted and split my glasses on the way down. So not only was it down to the bone on my hands, but I also was legally blind, right? So I couldn't provide for myself. I was terrified to go to the hospital in this way. Like, I don't like hospitals. So there's my body is getting a very strong message of slow down. And then my business, meaning my career, my finances, the one biggest fear that I had at the time, because I used to work in medical, was the medical bill accompanied with that. And working in nonprofit, I did not have medical coverage. So there was a full-on panic attack. And the founder knelt down next to me, and while he's waiting for me to come to, I could hear him in the darkness of my unconscious mind saying, "Put your feet on the floor, breathe deeply, practice your meditation. Put your feet on the floor, breathe deeply, practice your meditation." And when I came back, I started to go into shock and shaking, but remembering to breathe was amazing because it took me from very high levels of pain. There's a lot of nerve endings in your hand down several levels. And as he accompanied me in the ambulance, he started doing this interesting kind of hand motion over my fingers, and the swelling started going down. Without touching me, the swelling went down in my fingers. So later on, I would learn that that was an energy therapy called healing touch, and that many nurses are now cross-trained in multiple forms of energy therapies to help calm down patients in an acute state. That was the day that changed the course of my life, because I decided I wanted to know more about this energy stuff. And I also wanted to improve my own mindset personally around putting my health last and prioritizing bills and finances and the money higher than my own health. I wanted to be productive, let me open the window and not ask for help. But instead, this event is what kind of, course corrected me to leap onto a very different track of learning more about energy therapy and the way that it interacts with and informs our levels of productivity. So that's the birth point. There are, of course, many things that have happened along the way, but that was what changed my direction.
That's fascinating completely. And I got different things from your story, and it's clear for me the way that it happened, and obviously the way that you were describing it shows how much you reflected on the choices that you didn't take earlier and the reasons why, and how everything led to what you did now. And before that time, where were you in terms of, shall we say, your beliefs in these matters? So did that come as a shock to you that, oh my God, there is some kind of healing energy that I'm unaware of, or were you aware of it, you just hadn't experienced it before?
Mm-hmm. So I was aware, hadn't experienced it in that way before. So my father is a charismatic Baptist Protestant pastor who has very warm hands, and when he would pray for people, they would sometimes even faint. He's very charismatic, and he would, pray for people, the sick, and he would pray for people if they had like a spirit on them. So for me, I always saw it as kind of like a intense, kind of superstitious. I don't know what to make of all that. But I had seen it within the context of the church, right, and charismatic church services. So I'd never seen. I had also before that never really encountered what meditation was, other than occasionally if someone was kind of Asian, they would tell you to take a deep breath or something, or in a movie or a cartoon, someone does like some sort of magical sorcery thing. I completely had no context for it. But at the same time, I know a lot of like how to speak to yourself in a way that motivates you, and that as a source of personal power and energy, right? To speak positive words, right? And to be encouraging and to bring enthusiasm. I understood about that, yet it wasn't until after this experience that kind of changed tracks for me in my life that I realized I had been naturally intuitive and meditating for many years beforehand. As a child, I used to sit and stare at the clouds and lose time. My whole body would relax. Or I would sit and speak to like the different trees and just absorb their positive energy or their natural energy. It wasn't until I learned more about Native American spiritualism that this is another form of meditation and communion with spirit. These things I were doing just to comfort myself emotionally, or to explore the different sensations I would have, such as like if I felt a vibration coming off a tree or a stone, I just thought it was curious and interesting. The science and the philosophies behind it, I was completely unaware. So simply experiencing the sensation and reality of it.
I see, understand. Let's move forward now a little bit, or actually quite a lot, and I wanted to ask you about the work that you do with entrepreneurs, and because you mentioned already the intuition that you said you were naturally intuitive, and I will go into more detail about that in a moment, but I wanted to ask first of all about your work with entrepreneurs, and first of all, tell me why entrepreneurs in the first place.
Yeah, my goodness, yes. So it's interesting. The more that I learned about Reiki,
Yes.
which is an energy therapy, the more you have to practice on people, right? And it's similar to massage therapy. You have to work on the human form in order to master your craft. And so the more that I started offering Reiki, the more people started coming to me. It's interesting how life can be a mirror of you. The more I started offering Reiki, the more people who kept coming enthusiastically, asking more questions, probing deeper into the practice with me, as well as coming back with stories of how grateful they were for the shift of their energy. It took a few years for me to realize they were all entrepreneurs. Not just some of them were, but all of them. The people who were the most enthusiastic, who were the most curious, the most open-minded, open-hearted, asking the most questions and wanting to learn the most about the energy practice was entrepreneurs. And so when I learned that, I started to go a little bit deeper and ask, okay, so, why is that? Well, when they would come, clear the energy or work on their intuition, they would go out there and close more sales because they could see more. And for an entrepreneur, that is someone who is out there serving, but is also money motivated, to see that this energy thing could affect their productivity and their finances, they became so very excited. And they saw, it was the entrepreneurs actually that convinced me to first start taking payment for what I do, because it was just like something that I was personally passionate about. Whereas they like, well, no, I want to support you. Right. And I believe in this practice, and, you pay for the lights and your parking spot and all of these types of things. No, I want to see this continue. And their enthusiasm left onto me. And from there, it continued to blossom. But it was those who were the most enthusiastic about the energy work because they saw the return on investment, so to speak, to use like more entrepreneurial language, of learning about their energy and clearing it. They would see it in a monetary, tangible way, right? In increased sales, better networking opportunities, clarity around their decisions that need to be made in the business. If you can have clear insight, right, that comes from meditation as well as intuitive guidance, the more that you have that, the more you're able to move your business forward in in an aligned way. And so it emerged out of me sharing, just following the energetic practice. But, life is a mirror. And I believe that those who you are called to serve will be magnetized to you naturally. And that is why entrepreneurs, because that's who was apparently came. Yeah.
What's very interesting, Victoria, for me, of what you said is, and I don't know if you hear that often, but for me, I suppose for many people, when they hear about energy work or Reiki, their mind will go naturally to some kind of healing, and in particular, some kind of healing of a physical condition. However, what you were saying is that they are selling more or they are performing better in their business because of that. And that's for me something that maybe it's not very well known as a result. So tell me a little bit more about this. Why is energy or Reiki or these modalities usually associated with physical healing rather than all the other wonderful effects that they have?
This is such a good question. This is such a good question. Oh my. I don't know how deep we get to dive into this one, but I'll go as far as I can. Yeah.
Let's dive.
Yeah, the water's fine. Let's go. So, Reiki in particular, so the word itself is two syllables, Rei and Ki. Rei and Ki. Rei is universal life force, and Ki is energy. So the practice of Reiki is the moving, the shaping, the tracking, and the interacting with universal life force energy. That's all it is. So I like to think of Reiki kind of like hot sauce. You can put it on anything, because energy is everywhere throughout the universe. But it's interesting, and this is why I love your question so much. Why are people accustomed to using it more in a healing context rather than a business context. And so, well, for one, Reiki is actually rehashed version of a healing mantra that came from Tibetan Buddhist scriptures that were translated by the founder of Reiki, Dr. 𝗏𝗁𝗏 Mikao Sensei. And so he originally translated these healing mantras from ancient, like several thousand-year-old Tibetan Buddhist scriptures. And so they were healing mantras. So for one, they are called healing mantras. And the story goes that when Reiki was first rediscovered, as Dr. 𝗏𝗁𝗏, he would chant the mantras and started to interact with energy more, that he stubbed his toe really bad, like really bad, to the point it was bleeding. And he yelled out and fell and grabbed his toe to stop the gushing, but he took his hands back quickly, and it was as if there was no gash there. So that is a second reason why I think Reiki is associated with healing, is because at the founding of it, there's this something about physical healing that is perceived as miraculous, impressive, and immediate. You know, how do you say, civilized countries and economies can rise and fall, yet every human being has a body, right? And we all understand pain and dysfunction or dis-ease. And to have something, let's say kind of like an aspirin or a Band-Aid, to have access to an aspirin or a Band-Aid when you are in pain, you want that more than a dollar bill, right? You will want the Band-Aid, the aspirin, to deal with the physical pain more so than the dollar bill. Okay, so I believe that maybe this is just a philosophical argument, but I believe that people are physical and pain motivated first. So, but what can happen is that over time, that motivation forms an association of, well, I'm depending upon my body or I'm depending upon people's bodies whether or not to value this practice, right? So for example, you take a martial art. Reiki is a healing art, but a martial art could be, let's say, Kung Fu, right? So Kung Fu, you think of the association between Kung Fu and like action movies and people getting punched out and, you know, all these types of things, the martial and confrontational aspect of Kung Fu. However, Kung Fu can also be used for exercise and cleansing your internal organs. It's actually very healing for the Kung Fu practitioner. But there's an association for people of Kung Fu with attack, right? And inflicting injury, even though the practice can be applied to many different things. So I would postulate that it's more people have associated it and just started to remember it because of what is the highest level of pain that this practice can serve. And it's around physical pain. You know, it's done in hospitals now for cancer patients to help them recover their ability to eat. It's an amazing practice, yet at the same time, I think it's just an association. It's not that Reiki is meant to be only for bodily healing, but instead the practice has over time just been associated with bodily healing. This is another application of the very same principles. Any Reiki master out there, once they understand this, can take the very same things that they have been taught and apply it to increase the flow of energy into their finances and their business. Absolutely. But are they focusing on it? Are we being taught it? Not yet.
No, I like that. Not yet. And what you said about associations, it makes perfect sense. That is like And your example with Kung Fu and other things, we associate them with one thing and we tend to forget all the other, the other things that might be from that. Victoria, I'm curious. Tell me please about your title, Sensei. I know that it means teacher. So, but can you tell me a bit more about it? I'm very curious.
Yeah, absolutely. So the title Sensei, it means teacher. You are absolutely correct in Japanese. And Reiki is a system of natural healing therapies that comes from Japan. And many of the different forms are in Japanese, and that's where it was initially founded. So when you come over to the States, however, most people who study to a teacher's level of Reiki will use the American English translation of master teacher.
Yes.
And what's kind of strange is that over here, especially in America, when you see someone with the title of sensei, you don't think like, oh, someone who teaches teachers. No, you think someone who's going to knock you out. Or, oh, someone who you have to bow to because they're a master kind of a thing. Whereas for me, I identify very strongly with being a teacher. Ever since I was a little girl, always wanted to be a teacher. And it is appropriate that within being trained to a teacher of teachers level, which is, so you could say a master teacher in English, but I identify more with being a teacher. That is why I am using the proper Japanese title of sensei. Now, this is also, to go a little bit deeper, for me personally, I do not like the word master. For one, it is a power dynamic of I am above and you are below. And that for me, I personally am half African American, half Caucasian American. So my ancestors actually were enslaved by masters. So there's that word I do not like.
It has very strong associations. Yes, for me too. Yeah, there are some words like that. Yes.
Yes. And so that for one reason I do not like calling myself above somebody else or below. If you go to Japan, you will see in kindergarten the children refer to the teacher sensei, but it's kindergarten teacher. They're not going to knock you out and you don't have to bow. We need to celebrate our kindergarten teachers because they have saved parents' lives, but at the same time, they're not going to knock you out unless I don't know what kind of kindergarten they're going to. But there's that. And secondly, though, in my earlier years in practicing Reiki, during one of my meditations, one of my spirit guides came forward to me intuitively and said, use your title sensei. And I was very uncomfortable with that. One of my older brothers is an MMA fighter. He has sensei and it is very serious. I've had men come up to me angry that I am a sensei and I'm not going to knock them out. They're like, who do you think you are? Kind of a thing. And so when push comes to shove, that was the main reason why I shifted to using the title sensei, the proper title, teacher of masters, right? Meaning someone who has mastered a certain level of Reiki so that I can certify other people to be masters. That is what a master teacher is. It doesn't mean I have mastered you or I'm your master or something like that. But when push comes to shove, during one of my meditations, a very intense meditation, and intuitively one of my spirit guides came forward and said, use your title, use the proper title, and it would honor the lineage that I came from. And that is why I chose. That was a little long of an answer, but
that's fine. And if I can say, because you were jokingly saying about knock you out, when I first read the word sensei, I will tell you my first instinctive reaction with that, because when I was a kid, I was watching Karate Kid. So there was the sensei who was the guy, the bad guy of the Cobra Kai, who was the teacher, and everyone was saying yes, sensei. So it was like, the association is not only a martial artist, but also a mean one. But that's because of that wonderful movie. I was a teenager when it was out. Victoria, I'm going to go back into a serious mode again. It's something I really wanted to ask you about, and we already kind of mentioned it earlier, but it involves your work with entrepreneurs, and specifically, you talk about showing heart-centered, as you say, entrepreneurs, get connected with their natural intuition. So I would like to hear your thoughts about our natural intuition, first of all, and how we can connect with it more.
Yeah, I love this question. Oh, I'm so excited. Yay. Oh, I must say, Agi, I am very much enjoying our conversation right now.
Me too.
Yeah. So for connecting to your natural intuition, I call it a natural intuition, very intentionally, perhaps because of my own journey around being highly intuitive. It is seen as unnatural or just my imagination. Right? So if I could sense something was off, no. I've been taught by sometimes in passing my parents, but my parents are very go with the flow kind of people. They're very encouraging, but definitely authority figures in schooling and church and these different places. When I would start to tap into things that I couldn't exactly put my finger on why I was getting this awareness, it's you're imaginative, you are kind of crazy, or it's just, brush it off, right? Suck it up, brush it off, forget about it. It's not real. And so to perceive something that we are born with, I sincerely believe that every single conscious being has an intuition, right? It's a part of our endowments as human animals, right? To have instinct, to have intuition, to have empathy and emotion. This is part of our endowment. And to see that as unnatural or as something that we just kind of made up or are creating maybe for manipulation or to get people's attention or insert objection here. The reason why I call it natural intuition is I want to ground this concept of having an intuitive connection back into nature. We are parts of nature, we humans are. And how we navigate being on a natural planet is by being able to communicate with one another as well as our planet in a multidimensional and multisensory way. And for me, calling it natural intuition was a reclaiming of that, is that this is entirely normal and natural to have intuition. And especially when we apply it in business, because in the corporate arenas and the professional arenas, was especially where I got flack for how you feel doesn't matter. What are you talking about? Get to work kind of a thing, or seeing it as unprofessional of kind of following a hunch, or you're that crazy person that follows hunches in the accounting department. What are you doing? Whereas in using that exact example, when I used to work off Wall Street, they would give me extremely difficult bank reconciliations, like off by 1 penny. And it was through millions of dollars off by 1 penny. But, it's accounting. We want that to be zeroed out. Yeah. And so how how do you go and find the one penny that is off? Do you just drill through the whole thing like a robot? Well, you could get a robot to do that, but I'm a human being. So I would follow the story or almost follow the scent of, you know what, I think it might be this account. Well, let me go over here and investigate this. This situation seemed a little bit off. Let me go. And for my time working off Wall Street in that accounting department, they would give me the most difficult bank reconciliations because I would be able to find that. But that was guided by allowing my intuitive hunches as another form of intelligence and information gathering. I like to think of our natural intuition, and I share this with the entrepreneurs that I work with, because when you can hone this, your decisions are that much more powerful, right? If someone else disagrees with your direction in your business, right? Or if you have a vision for the brand colors, but someone comes back with this and you're not feeling it, well, what matters most? Is it how the person who you paid to say this is what your brand color should be, or your intuition and your feelings are that's not it? Oh, I paid this person, $15,000 for the brand work. Blah, blah, blah. I gotta listen to them. I don't know what I'm talking about. What it comes down to, I believe, is where is authority? When you can claim your natural intuition, you also reclaim your understanding that ultimate authority is within. Now, on average, I've spoken about this many times, and usually I will ask, how many years of schooling have people had? And on average, we found people who come to entrepreneurs events or transformational events tend to have on average around 20 years of schooling, from like little kid all the way up to whatever. 20 years of schooling. And when you go through school, you are taught to see as authority as externally defined. You get the A plus, and if you don't, even if you get the A, you need to talk to the professor because obviously they made a wrong decision, or you need to impress your friends. You have to make the bar. You have to respect your authority figures. All of authority is externally defined from a classical education. But when we learn about intuition, there is guidance and awareness coming not from external, but from the internal. And for entrepreneurs especially, they are more motivated to be the best versions of themselves, right? To have a sense of personal power. And I've found that when an entrepreneur or a leader can find an internally referenced locus of personal power, one that they carry with them morning, noon, and night, 24/7, 365, when they find an internal resource of power, that gives them so much more energy to exact influence and impact with. So when I'm talking about natural intuition, it's not just about, let's say, seeing colors or psychic visions or things like that. What I'm actually talking about is having a sense of personal power and knowing where does ultimate authority lie. I want to put that back in the hands of the individual. So that's what I would
That's
say.
an amazing answer. Thank you very much for that. I really enjoy you said another form of intelligence, you said personal power, and actually the ultimate authority, which is within. If I were to ask you, Victoria, to give to the listener one actionable item, something that he or she can implement to, let's say, hone more or attune more to this natural intuition, what's one thing that he or she can do?
So I'm asking my spirit guides your question, and they are telling me to tell you, move where you are thinking. Move where you are thinking. This is a very tangible exercise that anyone can do. And it's a little bit easier said than done, but once you get the hang of it, your intuition does get stronger. And it is this, as you are listening to me, Agi, or as those are watching in right now or listening in, notice where you are thinking and paying attention from. 9 times out of 10, and I'm right there with you, it is up here. The sensation of thought and attention is up around your forehead and your brain.
Yes.
Right? Now, your body has so much more locuses of intelligence that the lower you go, the more your intuition can increase. So, for example, as you are listening to my voice or paying attention, can you move that sensation of attention and thought down, maybe to your throat or to your chest? Can you move it a little bit below your chest, even down to your belly? Immediately what's going to happen is that you're going to steady yourself and start listening. Okay, well, where's the sensation in my body? Immediately we're just, okay, what does that look like? What does that feel like? What is the shape of it? What is the temperature? This is somatic wisdom. Somatic means sensual, sight, sound, taste, touch, smell, right? The feeling wisdom of the body. And as we connect to that feeling wisdom and lower it into your body, the more you'll be able to hear it. Now, everyone has their own special flavor of intuitive guidance. You might get dreams. You might get a feeling in your gut. You may have a feeling in your heart, etc. But at the same time, most people will have these intuitive sensations at random. Like it'll come kind of out of nowhere and, oh, that was magical, and then poof, it's kind of gone. Whereas following this simple exercise, it's not unlike building a muscle of lower where you are thinking. Take this energy of thought and attention and drop it into your body. What that's going to do is teach you how to listen for your intuitive signals, simply because you're paying attention to where am I listening. I'm listening in my head. Okay, I'm more in my mouth. Okay, I can get it a little bit towards my chest, but I can't get lower than my chest, or that type of a thing. The lower that you are in your body, this locus of attention, the more you will have access to your own intuitive signals. It is not my role to tell you what your intuitive signals are. As a teacher, I can teach you about all the different types of intuitive signals there are out there, but you are the center of all wisdom. You are the expert on being in your body. And it's important for you to write your own dictionary and your own encyclopedia on what intuition looks like naturally within inside of you. So I know for some people that might feel a warmth, a tingling, goosebumps, itches. They might see colors. Things might get suddenly brighter. They may feel more emotionally light when it's a good signal, or they might feel emotionally anxious when it's a negative signal, or they might feel more compressed and tighter when it is a don't do that type of intuitive signal. Everyone's is different, though. I don't believe in writing the system for the individual. I believe the individual writes their own system, if that makes sense. Yeah.
It does. I love it. Thank you for this answer. And it's something that it's practical, and also something that it needs work to lower, as you said, the locus of attention. It's not something like lowering your hand. I mean, it's not as simple as that, but I get the principle of how you can internally do this. So thank you. That was very useful. Thank you. Yeah. Victoria, I would also like to ask you some quick fire questions to start wrapping things up. It's a truly fascinating conversation. I think we could go on for twice as long.
Yeah.
But let me ask you some quick fire ones to start concluding. So the first one I always ask is, what does personal development mean to you?
For me, personal development is the cultivation of your own version of perfection as an individual. So everyone's definition of perfection is unique, and personal development is the journey to perfecting according to your own standards.
That's great. And let me ask you a hypothetical one. Let's say you could go back in time and meet your 18-year-old self. What's one piece of advice you would give her?
Speak up.
So good, yes. We spoke about so many things in the limited time that we had, but is there something that you were really hoping that we would discuss and we completely left out of the conversation?
Oh my, what a sense of loss. Yeah. Yeah. The part that I would love to talk about, but we didn't get to because we were on other juicy things. Yeah, I would say is the concept of being a visionary, and how that being a visionary bridges the gap between your intuition and your effect in your industry. The two are very tied, and it's through the act of being a visionary.
Victoria, how can people connect with you and find out more about you and what you do?
Yeah, I think the best place to go is to 𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗋𝗋𝗀𝗋𝗋𝗀𝗋𝗋𝗏, my website, and 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗋𝗋𝗋𝗀𝗋𝗋𝗀𝗋 is also my website. But when you go to either one, they lead to the same place, 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗋𝗋𝗋𝗋𝗋𝗏 and 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 to come see me on social media, right? On Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, they're all there. You could come purchase the book on Amazon, Natural Intuition, or come visit us on iTunes at the Journeypreneur podcast. I could go down the list of there's even more. Yet your best bet is if you want to connect with me, whether you're connecting through all of the content, or if you do want to hop on the phone or even attend one of our meditation mastermind retreats, it's to go to naturalintuition.com. It's all there.
That's awesome. I want to thank you very much, from my heart for this amazing conversation that we had, and your energy is very contagious, and I believe there was some tremendous value that was shared there for whoever is ready to receive it, of course. I want to wish you all the very best in your empowering mission in the world. Any last parting words?
Last parting words I would have to say is remember to enjoy this journey, the spiritual journey, this personal growth journey. Enjoy the journey. Do not lose your glow as you grow yourself. This is meant to be an adventure and to be fun and joyous. So enjoy. Mm-hmm.
I hope you enjoyed listening, and I have a question for you. How would you like a blueprint to your personal development? If you sometimes think that there are so many different things out there you could do for your personal growth, but you're not sure on where to start or what's the next best step, if you'd like a blueprint to help you take control of your personal development, your focus, habits, confidence, and ultimately your time and energy, then you will love my online course, Essential Personal Development Blueprint. The link is in the show notes, or type bit.ly/AGIS course, AGIS course. And until next time, stand out, don't fit in,